See, so as the agent, you got to know this.
So the big question is, what are top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? To get the answers, we interview top real estate agents to learn their secrets to success. Listen, we believe every agent should make a minimum of $100,000 per year, and we're on a mission to make this happen. We've already helped over 100 agents achieve this with our coaching. So if you want to fast track your business growth, get to your first $100,000 in GCI or add another $100,000 in GCI using social strategies, then head over to go.eliteagentsecrets.com, or you can just click the link in the description below. Also, just make sure to follow us, hit that subscribe button, and if you get any value from this at all, please tell a friend and leave us a review. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Elite Agent Secrets show. Today we've got Dominic Fonte with us. He's been in real estate for 33 years and sold over 2,300 homes. Today he's going to be opening his playbook to his 3 secrets to success. We're going to be discussing perception versus reality, being your local expert, and the expensive and emotional process and how to shorten that cycle. Dominic, thank you for jumping on the show with us today. It's a pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
Great. How are you guys today?
Absolutely phenomenal. Andrew just got into the greatest country in the world last night, aka the US.
For anyone watching, you'll see my background's a hotel room right now. Yeah, I'm back in New York after a 2-year sabbatical due to that little pandemic thing that was going on. So I'm back in the US of A to crush out some deals. It's good to be back. But more importantly, the way we like to start these shows is 33 years. You are a true veteran. And you've stuck it out and you've crossed multi-7 figures at this point. But take us back, if you can, 33 years ago. What were you doing? Why'd you get into the industry? And then take us from there and take us on a little journey over the last 33 years before we dive into your topics.
Okay, sounds good. So this is actually my 34th year. February kicked off my 34th year. And so how it all started for me was, I grew up in a poor end of town, like some of the stories I've heard on your podcast, blue collar, wasn't really college bound. I was in the work program at school. So I had a hard work ethic, but I just didn't seem like I had a skill set where I could earn more than minimum, whatever the pay was at the time. So I ended up through high school, got a job in the retail grocery business. And I found over the course of time, I enjoyed working with people. I like people. The problem I was running into is I was topped out at a certain minimum wage, right? And so I would fight and struggle for a nickel or a dime raise. And I got to the point where when I was in my early 20s, I wanted to buy real estate because I saw that most successful people that had wealth had real estate in their portfolio. So, as making a minimum wage, it's hard to envision, this real estate empire that I was hoping to have when I really didn't even understand what I was doing, right? So this was before I got into real estate. So I had the right thought. It's just I didn't have a vehicle to generate revenue in order to figure out how to do this, right? So I'm in high school and I'm working at this job and going to school, and it's kind of, they called it OWE, Opportunity Work Experience. So they saw me as not a college bound person. So I was just hopefully keep me off the streets, right? So that was kind of how it started for me. And then over the course of time, I realized that I'm going to have to figure something out. So I bought my first home when I was 21 years old in 1981 when the rates were 18%, right? And you guys, I don't know if you remember that because I'm a bit older than you. So that's really what happened. So then over the course of the economy being tough, I was trying to figure out another way. So anyhow, I was in the retail business, grocery, and then gift shop. And I knew the writing was on the wall that there was no way I'm going to make over $7 an hour. I mean, it's just no way, $7.10, $7.15. So real estate kept coming back to the forefront that, I got to figure out a way to buy real estate, but I didn't have the vehicle of earning money. So what I ended up doing is I went to school and did cram courses to get my real estate license in 1987. It was the end of 1987. And of course, I flunked the test the first time, but the second time I did pass it. So I was going to dip my toe into business. So I was working this retail job, just going to work a little bit. Well, I had a big run-in with the manager. I was licensed, had no experience, and I was so angry. So here again, the pain. outweighs the pleasure. Sometimes you have to make those dramatic changes. Well, I was so angry, I left my job on Friday, started in real estate on Monday. So in Ohio, here in the US, you have to have a broker. If you're an agent, you got to affiliate with a company, right? So I affiliated with a company, and sure enough, the first day I go into the office, and it's at 8:30 in the morning, and sure enough, no agents are in the office. It was 3 secretaries. So I sit down and I said, "Hey, ladies, guess what?" I said, "I quit my job. I'm going to be a full-time realtor." They looked at me and said, "You what?" Like, "You idiot." And I said, "Where's all the agents?" They laughed. They go, "Oh, they don't come in until 10 or 11. So you can imagine, like right then and there, I wanted to throw up, because the way I left my job, it wasn't like I gave them a notice. I just left on Friday, started in real estate on Monday. So when the trauma settled in, that I realized that, I had no experience and I had no money. So if I didn't figure out how to turn this thing around, now keep in mind, this was in February of '88 is when I got licensed. And I worked a few months in my retail job, and then I left, right? So when I started in real estate, I had no experience. So I'm sitting in my cubicle, trembling, thinking, oh my God, I made a huge mistake, because I didn't really think it through. I just knew I hated my job and real estate was in my future. But back in '88, there was no technology like we have, like right now, this Zoom or whatever we call this we're doing. We had a fax machine. That was our newest technology. And people don't even really use those anymore. So that's basically how it started for me. And then when I had no people to work with, the broker came in and said, "What have you been doing here since you've been here?" And I said, "Well, I'm just sitting here basically trembling, thinking about what I want to do," right? So she says, "Take out that phone book and start making some calls." Now, can you imagine my first day, no experience, making phone calls? How do you think that went for me?
Terrible.
I mean, that's how it started. So by the time I was making these calls and people were hanging up on me, it was really humiliating. Then the agents started coming in, and I was talking softer and softer because it was just humiliating. So then I went home in my basement and just got abused more, right? So I did this for like 3 weeks, and I didn't have any success. So to make things worse or better, I knew that if I didn't figure this out pretty timely, I would be in trouble. So I went to the local store and bought these little cheap plastic bags that you hang on doors, and I put a bunch of free propaganda in it and magnets, right? So I'd go door to door. So I got a map and I started doing door to door, and I went through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses. And so it really wasn't a very pleasant start for me. They weren't like really programs like this to help people gain knowledge. It wasn't YouTube or Google, Facebook, and other sources. I mean, if you were lucky, you got a tape series you could listen to in your car, right? So that's how it started for me. And so after getting a lot of unhappy experiences, it was just, I got to the point where I knew if I didn't turn this around, I was going to be in trouble. So as I was doing this, I was improving my dialogue. Hi, my name's Dominic Fonte. I'm a new real estate agent going door to door just to meet the neighbors. And I have this valuable information that, it's just a bunch of crap. But I didn't have any money. So, I didn't really know what to do. No one trained me. I didn't know. So I kept doing that and forcing myself out of my comfort zone. And after a little while, I got better at what I was saying. And then finally, I remember I was knocking on doors this one day, and this gentleman answered the door, and he came out on the porch and says, I launched into my presentation. "Hello, my name's Dominic Fonte. I'm a new real estate agent going door to door, and I have this valuable information and this magnet, which you put on the refrigerator if you have a question or you know someone." He took my magnet and says, "Dominic Fonte." So I thought he was going to say, "Oh, I recognize you. I see you around the neighborhood." He flung it out in the yard, said, "Get lost." So you can imagine after that, I went home. I was all depressed. The next day I had to get up. I didn't want to get out of bed. So I was really down and just thinking I made a huge mistake, and I didn't have a college degree. I didn't have a skill set. So I just said, you know what? So I got to dig in. So I dug in. I ran into the mailman. The mailman, I told him what happened, kind of tried to get a little sympathy. And I said, "By any chance, do you know anybody in the neighborhood? Have you been doing this route a while?" He goes, "Yeah, I've been doing it 27 years. And so he gave me a couple leads, and I confidentially just went and followed up. And that's how it started for me. And then the first year I sold 40 homes from doing that hard task.
Wait, hold on.
So that's how it started for me, guys.
Did you say 40 homes your first year?
0 to 40. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
That's 0 to 100. Wow.
0 to 40. How long did that take you for you to go through that pain? Was it, we know at least it's been 3 to 4 weeks at this point. Has it been like two?
I did it for months. Like I started in the fall and then went all the way through winter knocking on doors. So it took me, at least a half a year of calling and knocking on doors before I started having some results. Because like I said, I didn't have a sphere of influence. I didn't grow up in a nice end of town. So I didn't really have, some people, just are blessed with a good database, college friends, high school friends. I didn't really have that. It was just more just knocking on doors, and just, walking around aimlessly trying to see people and introduce yourself. And, so it really wasn't very pleasant to start with. I mean, now, there's scripts, dialogues, technology, there's other ways of doing it, which I had now mastered those skills. But, it took a lot of pain and suffering to get to this point, because you got to remember, this is now my 34th year. So the first year, I was their top salesperson within the first year at the company I was with. Then over time, I switched to a bigger company thinking that, if I'm around the right people, like one of your podcasts said, your 5 people you hang around with is what you are, right? I think that was one of your last ones. So, it is true, your influence is everything. So I didn't have the influence. So I tried to affiliate with people that had influence, hoping that it would rub off on me, which in fact it did over time. And then I just improved my skill set. And then it shortens the cycle. So like when we talk about the sales cycle is from here to here, well, you can shorten it up to here if you know the scripts, dialogues, and you're the expert in your local, community.
So Dom, one of the questions that I have for you is, how did you go from 0 to 40? Like, did those deals start coming in, one after the other? Was it like maybe 1 or 2 deals that kind of held you over for you to stay long enough in the game to get some actual money coming in? Or was it like deal after deal after deal after
no.
deal?
So this, you got to remember now, this is in the 80s. And so I grew up in, say, a $25,000 neighborhood, let's say. So I started where I came from. So a lot of my sales were between 25 and 35,000 initially. So I think my commission was $500 a pop, something like that. Maybe 1,000, some cases 1,500 if I had both sides of it. So it was a traditional company. So the first 3 or 4 months, I was a big fat zero. And then, I started doing FHA, VA financing. And back then it was when they didn't have direct endorsers and things. So it was a little bit harder and longer. And so that's basically what I did. I sold 6 homes on my street, within that year that I grew up on. Because I just, like I said, I went door to door, started in my neighborhood and kind of worked my way out. And so, after the first year, anybody that knows, likes, and trusts you, you pretty much use them up. And then, once you start having transactions, as long as you have a good plan, you always want to work the referral base after that. And I got referrals pretty quickly, word of mouth, because I was just all over it. But I was a maniac too. I was working 80 hours a week because I was afraid of losing everything because I wasn't bringing in any dollars. So I did whatever it took. Now, you can't do that over the long haul. You can do that in the short term, but you can't do that forever. So I worked super hard. And then at the end of the first year, when I had the success, so basically, here's what it was. I made $15,000 in my job, and I made $40,000 in real estate the first year in 1988. So to me, that gave me some encouragement to know that, hey, I think I'm on the right track. But could I do this again? Is it even possible to do this again? Because I was a single agent. I didn't have any help. I was just barely holding on. I didn't even understand you had to put money aside to pay tax. I was kind of learning it all as I went. And so I was generating at least enough revenue as what I did in my job. And so that's how it started. Then I started saying, okay, how do I refine this? Is there a way to up my game? And instead of 25 to 35, can I get up to 60, 80, 100? So I can do maybe 40 transactions and really up my income opportunity. And so that's basically where my mindset went. And then I started really opening up my mind to become better at the job, how to ask questions, open-ended questions, how to basically be authentic and real and sincere in the heart of the teacher. So, like if I say I'm a hustler and I'm looking for a deal, where's my deals? People right away get suspicious and feel like, you're really just looking at the commission and not really what's in my best interest. And in a lot of cases, you might say to the client, it might be better for you not to sell your home, to stay here. What? You're a real estate agent. Why are you talking me out of selling my home? And then they tell 10 friends, and guess what? 3 of them call you to sell their home. So it's kind of like you look at the long view of everything. And I mean, I got so much data I can share with you on that. It's just a matter of where do you want to go with it?
One of my questions, actually, one of my takeaways is everyone should be friends with the delivery drivers.
Oh, for sure.
Mailman, delivery drivers. Like, if you're not hitting up your UPS, FedEx trip guy, like, you're probably missing the boat, especially if he's been doing it for 20 odd years. He probably has so much good information on, in all seriousness. So fast forward to 2021, last year. What did you do last year in deals then?
Well, how about this?
Go on then.
COVID year. How about the COVID year?
Yeah, COVID years, 2020, 2021.
Yeah, so like, I always kind of look at, pre-COVID, and just to regress for a quick second, so what the agents have to understand is we don't curse the wind, we adjust our sail, and I'll top on that in a second. So, if you go back to the high interest rates, there were assumable loans, and it was just harder to do things because of the financing, right? And then you had the Gulf War, and I'm talking U.S. here, the Gulf War when that happened, and then you had 9/11. And then you had 2008 through 2013, which was when the Depression happened. And then you had COVID, right? So each one of these times made a major impact in our industry because of consumer confidence, because of economics, because of many reasons. So now, you do pre-COVID, what did the market look like? And then you see COVID. A lot of people kind of fizzled out. They got scared and went home, or maybe their business got shut down. We were still in Ohio considered essential, right? So I could still work. Only thing is I had to work like this, through Zoom or green screen or email, video, stuff like that. So like when you fast forward to 2020, 2021, I was averaging about 135 transactions. And it's just me and my buyer specialist, and then I have an office manager. And then my son, who just joined me, was kind of like helping out with signs and lock boxes. So that's basically, which would be like 20 million, a little over 20 million in volume. And so the numbers were really good. And that was during COVID. And then the next year, the same thing, same similar business. And so far this track, I'm on the same track. It's just right now the inventories are different, as you know, across the country.
Yeah, and that's a small team to do. I mean, those are some great numbers for such a small unit. I'm sure everyone is reaping, good rewards. Out of interest, just before we dive into your first topic, which is what I want to transition to, your buyers are specialists that you said. Have they been with you for like a long time? Out of curiosity,
no. He worked in the restaurant business, and when COVID came, it kind of crushed the business. Really? And he just got his license too, but he only had 2 transactions under his belt. And so, I interviewed him. This was right during COVID. I think it might have been in May. So March 15th, 2020 is when they shut the country down. And then I think it was May is when I hired him. And then that first year, I think he sold like 40 transactions.
Wow. So that just goes to show
out of the 130, but part of it is, systems and
mentor.
There's a lot to that, the infrastructure piece of it now, so that you can have a smooth, relaxing, consistent experience based on being a very emotional thing and very expensive,
Yeah. So this actually is going to be a nice transition into your first topic, which is perception versus reality. And I want to, before you expand on what you mean, the perception and reality of joining teams or going solo is something that we actually discuss a lot, because we actually think for newer agents, joining a team is not a bad thing at all. It's about joining the right team. It's a similar situation or conundrum as with a brokerage. Like, there is good brokerages out there, obviously, but certain ones will be better for your certain situation. And you've just got to figure out what that is. And it also comes into it with teams as well. Like, you can basically get a 5-year education in real estate in a year to 2 with a great team and just blow everything out the water, get everything you need to then, if you want to go off and peel off and do your own thing. So the perception is that teams take some of your commission. The reality is you get an education that fast tracks 3 years of your life. Which is why, with us, we grow teams and things, and we bring people into our organization, because that's what we feel is going to be best for them to accelerate their growth. And then they can go off and do whatever. But hopefully, like Richard Branson says, you train them well enough that they can leave. You treat them well enough that they don't want to. So let's dive into your first topic, which is perception versus reality, and open that can of worms for us.
So, there's a couple topics there you're talking about. So like just in general, like as an agent, team agent, individual agent, doesn't really matter. It's the same story. So there's like four things. So you're looking for a buyer that wants to buy, a seller that wants to sell, or you have a potential buyer or potential seller, right? And then the fifth one, if they turn into a successful transaction, then what do you do after they buy or sell real estate? What do you do with them? And so my thing is that how I approach it, and this is how I've been very successful, is that what is the perception of a prospective buyer right now? So I wrote a few of these down just to give you, and then these will resonate with you, I'm sure. So right now, if you know anything about the real estate market, so we know right now there's a low inventory of homes, right? And we know there's a lot more buyers out there than sellers, and then the prices are much higher now. And we know the interest rates may be on the rise, except for the world crisis or whatever, that sometimes will maybe stifle it a little bit. But no matter what, the trajectory is going to go up from 3%, right? It's like 3.5, 3.65, 4%. So the perception is from a buyer's perspective. So you always look, okay, if you're working with a buyer, what do you think their perception is? Now you can always ask them, but only 32%, and actually it's 28, just dropped some more. Only 28% of the people that are thinking of buying think it's a good time to buy. So I'm saying to myself, what about the other 70%? Like, you think it's a bad time to buy? So that's perception versus reality. Another one is, I'm saving for a larger down payment because my folks told me that, you don't want to pay PMI or MIP, those mortgage insurance things. So you want to put more money down, lower your payments. But in reality, it's $4 per thousand for every thousand you borrow. So if I wait 6 months and save a few more $1,000s to lower my payment, think about this. You're going to be paying 8-10% more in valuation, right? Because the appreciation, and the rates just went up another 0.5%. So in essence, you're shooting yourself in the foot. But the perception is, I'm going to save for a little more down payment because I want to lower my payments and maybe, figure out the PMI, private mortgage insurance. The other one is that it's going to cost me money to use a buyer's agent. So they don't really always understand that. That's the perception. The other thing is, you just, like, the parents come with them on a showing. So, the parents don't really know you're looking out for their best interest. They just know you want to sell their kid some lemon so you can make a big fat commission. I want a deal. I don't pay full price for anything. How's that working for you? Yeah, I don't know about your market. I'm just saying. Okay, so that would be the buyer perception.
Not paying full price is one thing. Now you're paying over the price. That's a whole nother thing. That's getting a deal.
Well, I mean, think about it like this, Peter. So over the years, you'd say, okay, I wonder what they'll take for the house. Now it's like, I wonder how much over they'll take for the house. You get what I'm saying? So the perception versus reality. So that's where I was going with that one. Now on the seller's side, you say, well, my house is worth way more than that. I mean, come on, they're selling like hotcakes. So they're like the expert, right? Sold 1 or 2 houses in their life. They're the expert. So basically all of you guys are the same. So like there's 1.3 million agents in the US. I mean, basically you're all vanilla. So like, what's your fee? What's your fee? Because basically y'all do the same thing because we suck at articulating what our expertise is. So that's the first thing I get is like, hey, Dom, I see your signs out there. You look like a pretty good agent. But, we're only in town for a couple of days. We're selling my mom's house. She went into a nursing home or, whatever the case may be. But before I have you come out, what's your fee? So that tells me that they're focused on the service fee instead of the net number. So the bottom line is they're going to step over $1 to pick up a nickel because most agents don't articulate value. And if you think about like most buyers or sellers that aren't in like military or corporate relocation, they might have only 3 or 4 transactions between age 25 and 75. So the only thing they know is their private experience or what they see on the internet or what they hear from their friends and family. So that's why as an agent, if you become articulate and you understand the perception versus reality and how to articulate that, to relate to people like with the heart of the teacher, because an informed decision maker is a happy decision maker. So my job is always to make sure that we're giving them relevant information because we know where their head is. So like on the seller side, I'm waiting for all those foreclosures. Now, didn't you see on the internet? So you have all these forbearances that they talked about. And so anybody that's been around long enough to think right away, oh, geez, there's a bubble, it's going to burst. We're going to go back to '08. So I'm going to wait and see, and I think I'm going to get a deal, right? But in reality, when you look at supply and demand, this is across the country, the whole country. There's just no inventory. We're like less than 1 month's inventory. So, that's like in my jurisdiction, there's 8 homes for sale and you have probably 1,000 agents. I mean, really? So, you really have an opportunity as an agent to shine and understand how to be powerful and a local expert and overcome the perception versus reality.
So, Dom, I have a question for you. Just kind of, this is really striking a really nice chord with me because I'm dealing with some of this stuff. And for anybody that's listening, I know we all, it doesn't matter where you are in your business, you can always improve your skill set on how you articulate to your clients, whether it's a buyer or seller, about the current situation, what the future situation looks like, and making sure that they make an educated decision about their past, present, and their future.
Correct.
What are some of the things that you are saying, in particularly to your buyers that are like, let's say, FHA or conventional or cash? How are you setting those expectations? And then vice versa. What are you saying to your sellers when they have these astronomical expectations that their house is worth $100,000 over where the market is actually saying? They'll get probably a little bit more money than what you're going to list it for, but not, telling you how to do your job. How do you articulate that effectively?
Okay, so there's 2 sets of it. There's the buyer set and the seller set. So, which one you want to cover first?
Let's go buyers, because I know a lot of agents listening are probably buyer heavy.
Okay. So here's the struggle that we have right now with the buyers so I'll give you an example. So I get an offer the other day and the people want to go through a local credit union. Now, right away, from my experience, I know it's not the credit union that's well known, and they mainly do car loans, student loans, whatever. So even though we like that offer better than the other offer, I said to them, I go, look, to the agent, why do they want to go to this credit union? Because I can't really tell them where to go, but I'm just saying from my expertise, if you'd like to get your offer accepted, I think you should go to a local lender that's savvy and well known because it's going to help build the package better, right? So I said, so in order to not like make them feel bad, I said, let's do this. Let me call the credit union in front of this person. So say it's the buyer. And the buyer, Johnny went to the credit union. They had a good experience. I have my savings there. So they're just comfortable. So they really don't know what's best for themselves. So our job is to articulate that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
So you want to bring them to your solution because you know the right solution. It's kind of like you don't want to do it in vain, right? And so if we would have let this go through, it would have been in vain. So I called the credit union with them on speaker. And I said, hi, this is a local real estate agent. And I said, I have a pre-approval letter from the credit union here. Oh, yeah, I'm the originator. I do all the loans here. I said, oh, great. I said, in the last 12 months, just tell me briefly, how many real estate transactions have you had? Oh, they go like, we're up towards about 30 for a year. Okay, 30. How many transactions? 30. So like, you guys know what I'm talking about here. You think this would be a great experience? Do you think the seller's going to want to accept that? Now, if I'm an idiot agent or I don't really know, well, of course, it's a pre-approval, a pre-qualification, whatever. See, so as the agent, you got to know this. And so then once they heard 30, like, okay, we're willing to talk to someone else. Who do you recommend? So then they got their offer accepted. So it's not only just, so let's say I'm FHA against conventional. So you got a 10% conventional or an FHA 3.5 down. And the conventional is full price, 10% down, pre-approved, normal stuff that you're good with, right? And then you got an FHA. I'm offering $10,000 over list price, FHA. So now the seller sees that. What's the seller think right away? 10K, holy moly. But what do we worry about? What if it appraises less? Who's bringing money to closing? The FHA or the 10% down? You get what I'm saying? So like you always want to look at it through the eyes of the seller. So if you're working with the buyer, what's going to look good for the seller? So what I use is I got a sheet that shows like if I'm in multiple offers, so like I have one house, let's say it has 29 offers. How do you break that down to a layman so they understand how to make a good informed decision. And it's not always price. It might be terms. It might be down payment. It might be appraisal gaps. It could be other things, correct? So when you articulate that, you could use a reversal and say, here's the form I use typically when sellers are looking at trying to pick the best offer. These are the things they look for. So it might be, down payment, waive inspections, inspections for information only, so there's a way to do it to sweeten a deal, so to speak. Or you could even say, I'll knock $1,000 off the buyer's closing cost. I mean, there's all kinds of creative ways to do things depending on the fee structure and things like that. It's just different than what we're used to.
So I'll selfishly ask this because I'm curious to get your input on this, because right now I am humbled, severely humbled, because I'm used to just winning and dominating and getting the house, getting through to the agent, making a great connection, getting my offer accepted, even if it's not highest and the best. I have an FHA buyer right now. We have lost now 2 deals, right? We have given 20K over ask. We have given an appraisal gap of 10K. We've put down 15K. We've put down 5%.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, here's your dilemma.
I can't get that offer squeezed through.
Okay, here's the deal. So what's the perception of FHA? It's harder.
It's harder.
Yeah. It's hard. It's not. It's not harder. So the only thing is let's say this. Okay, let's say you're the buyer and the agent. So how I would present it is I would talk to the listing agent and say, look, if it's you, are you the buyer for real?
I'm not the buyer, but my client.
You're representing the buyer. Okay, so as an scenario, I'm dealing with. Yeah. Look, so here, what do they look for? What's FHA look for? Chipping paint, handrails, and safety, right? Safe, sound, and sanitary. So as an agent, you, the expert, you go in, and if you see fuse boxes and no GFCIs, then you got to factor that into the negotiations. You're going to have to say, we'll take care of it. Like the only thing I see from my expertise is there's chipping and peeling paint. My buyers are willing to go and scrape and paint if it comes up. And also, because you're the expert now, so you're reassuring the listing agent, look, you're not dealing with a dumbass. You're dealing with someone that gets it. I have contractors. We can get this done. Or if it's okay, we can even do it before the inspection. So you can knock all kinds of ways out. Because right away, their perception is if you go FHA versus a 5% conventional, I don't even want to take a chance with FHA because I heard they're really hard. They're not really hard. If you go to a direct endorser, it's done in 35 days, no matter what. So they say it's going to take longer. They're going to nitpick my house. So I don't even want to touch you. Poor VA and FHA buyers, right? They're screwed right now because the agents don't know how to articulate. Not that you don't, but when you go through that house, you know what they're going to nitpick, don't you? Scrape and chip paint. There's no, broken windows, cracked windows, a handrail missing. How hard is it to do that? And so you just go right out front and hit that and say, look, these are the things that could come up. And we already know that. And I already have someone that's lined up to do it. And if it's okay with you, we'll do it prior to the appraiser coming in. And then as far as the inspection goes, they don't understand, like they think FHA is an inspection. No, it's just they're looking for those key things and each one's different. So if you have an appraiser that's analytical, they're going to be a little more nitpicky about stuff. That step squeaks. It's down a little too much. It's an 8-inch drop. So what I'm saying is that if you're savvy enough and you go in on your buyer's behalf and you see they might gig us on the handrail, a couple GFCIs here in the wet areas, right? And the garage needs scraped and painted. You can't leave the chips on the ground. You got to back them up. But the point is that you hit right out of the bait. I just want to reassure you that the guy, the pre-approval, he said he can do it in 30 days. Oh, I thought it was like 60 days. So you're overcoming his worry. And then if anything comes up, we'll take care of it because you're going to coordinate it with your buyer. You're going to preset your buyer to say, look, this is what's going to happen. If you want to win, you got to be willing to do this. You're not? Are you willing to pay for it? Yes, I am. So then you line up the painter or you guys go on the weekend and then buy a beer and take them out to dinner. Get what I'm saying?
It's even crazier because my guy's a GC and we have literally done this exact thing. I was not successful in getting in front of the agent.
But here's part of the problem. Here's part of the problem, Peter. You got to look at the listing agent. So like I know in the industry after 34 years, as soon as I hear a name, I know their skill set. And so it's a personality thing. So let's say you're dealing with kind of a agent that's sort of like a detail-oriented agent. They're not going to be able to absorb it. You get what I'm saying? So you're going to have to really nurture them and help them understand. But if they're looking at a cash offer, you're not going to win no matter what. You get what I'm saying? But you have to make sure if you're going to win, you make sure you go in and you look at the agent, the personality, education, and you try to finesse them, to say, whatever. So I'll give you another example. So the sellers, sometimes they hear the price and they go, wow, 10,000 more, like they get excited, but they don't really know the nuances like we do. So we always have to make sure we explain. Well, sometimes when you see that house, you go through that house, do they have pictures of their family, their dog, awards? What do you see in the house? Do they give a shit about the money, or do they give a shit about the feelings, the emotion? Because sometimes, like if I'm given 10 grand more and I'm an investor, I'm going to turn around and flip it, or I'm going to turn around and rent it. They may give it to the person with the dog that has a dog similar to their dog because they want another nice family to live there. So what you do is you have to pull out all the stuff. Anyhow, I could write the book on it. I got to tell you, man.
I love it. This is helpful because it shows me that I require to improve even more in my skill set because the game is always changing.
Don't curse the wind, Peter. Don't curse the wind. Adjust sales. Remember this: when you look at the house, you walk through the house. You're not just looking at the nuts and bolts of it. You want to look at the feeling, the essence of like you look in the closet. What do you see in the closet? Ooh, they're going through a divorce. I mean, you could tell this. You look at how their office is, how many awards are on the wall. You look at all the family trips. You look at the dog. You look at whatever. This gives you power to how to work and finesse the personality style. And this is how you get them to feel heart. Some people says, I don't give a shit, just show me the money. Well, you're not going to win with that person. You want to win with the heart. And sometimes you have to do the letter. Sometimes you just try to make sure you finesse it. So you might leave a card at the house and just say, I really love your house. It means so much. My people are so excited. I hope you pick us. Whatever it takes ethically is what you do.
We were speaking to
hold on, Andrew. I'm going to cut you off. That is a great idea. The card idea.
You whatever. You do what you have to do. And then if they hate their agent, guess who they're going to call?
That is amazing.
We've got this story about winning an offer. I'm not sure if you remember it, Peter, but with the dog. Do you remember this? Where the buyers, like you said, they didn't have the highest price offer, but this family had lost their dog, right? So the buyer came in, didn't have the money that they wanted to win the offer, but they turned up with a puppy of the dog they had lost. They won the house.
Okay. So you get one. Now that might be a little over the top. Hey, here's one for me. So like in my market, it's a fierce market. You know what I mean? It's just hard to get people that want, like to win the bid and also get the listing. And there's a lot of good agents out there. And I remember I was the third interview of this nice lady, right? She was selling her parents' home. And I'm sitting there on the deck and we're talking. And next thing I know, here comes a bouquet of flowers. And they're like, oh, and she goes, oh, this is for the other agent. Then here comes a pie from another agent. And I go, look, you're only going to get good service from me. You're not getting any pies or flowers. And then I end up getting the listing.
Oh, and by the way, would you consider yourself a maverick? Are you an agent, team leader, broker owner who's constantly striving, pushing boundaries and smashing goals? Well, we've already helped over 100 agents cross $100,000 and up in GCI per year. So if you're interested in learning more about our courses and coaching to help you scale your business, then head over to go.eliteagentsecrets.com.